Okay, so a bit of a transfer update at Wolves. Probably the first significant one in a while from Tim Spears and David Ornstein about Ruben Neves. Um, it's not really the most surprising thing. I think I probably could have wrote this headline and kind of guessed it and got away with it, but it could be a summer of change at Wolves. I think everyone expects that. David Ornstein reports to Barcelona he's a likely destination for Ruben Neves. Not surprising. George Mendes club been linked before. Wolves remain keen to keep him, obviously, and Moutinho. But tracking Sporting duo Matheus Nunes and I assume it's Nunes, maybe Nunez, I don't know, and Joao Palhinha. This isn't the most surprising news, but I think it's very interesting. I think the club have put this out a very clever time. It feels like a very PR thing. This does. Obviously, Wolves just beat Aston Villa in the derby where Ruben Neves didn't play, and obviously he just got injured as well. The mood around the club is very good right now, and it feels like Wolves have kind of just put this out there very early to kind of be like, while everyone's distracted, kind of put it out there. And clubs do things like this, right? And even Bruno's comments yesterday about like, oh, we love Ruben, but he might leave. But like, it all kind of feels like this is done. And I know some people have been saying he's in talks for a new contract, and people have been trying to find like reasons for why Ruben might stay. But I think this kind of confirms that he's gone. To be honest, I think Barcelona is an interesting move. I think it's better to probably sell him abroad. I don't really get it. Like Barcelona have loads of midfielders. They've got Pedri, Nico, Gavi, Ricky Puig, Busquets, De Jong. They've just signed Frank Kessie on a free. So I don't really get why Barcelona would want him, but that's not really our issue. I don't really mind this, to be honest. I think if we'll sell Ruben Neves to Barcelona abroad, I don't really think that's a bad thing. It's better than him going to Arsenal and having to watch him play next to Granit Xhaka for the next 10 years. And I don't know. I think I'd rather Wolves sold him early. This has happened a lot where Wolves have had kind of like a transfer situation, even the Adam one in January, where we've kind of just not prepared for it, and or not prepared for it, but we've dragged it out. And honestly, if it turns, what is it, May? The season ends, I think late May. If the day after the season ends, Ruben Neves is gone to Barcelona for 40, 50, 60 mil or whatever it is, I don't think that's a bad thing. Wolves have a lot of restructuring to do in that midfield. They have a lot of other deals to do. If Wolves get this done early and kind of sell him abroad, I don't think anyone can really complain. I've seen people say about, obviously, the Adama situation, or Barca can't afford to buy Adama Traore, how are they going to afford to buy Ruben Neves? They can. Barcelona they are rich. I know they're in debt, but Barcelona have been in debt for 10 years. Like, this isn't a new thing. People are saying, how are they going to buy Adama Traore on loan? How are they going to get Aubameyang on 200 grand a week? How are they going to spend £50 million on Ferran Torres? They've done it. Barcelona can spend money if they want to spend money, especially with, George Mendes connections. This isn't a surprise. I still think Adama will go to Barcelona. I think Trincao will be used in the SWAT. There is no way that Trincao is not joining Wolves permanently now, by the way. There is absolutely no way. If Ruben Neves and Traore both go to Barcelona, but Trincao doesn't come here permanently, I'll be absolutely stunned. And it would be a bit of a shame to lose Adama Traore and Ruben Neves both to Barcelona, but I don't think it'd be that much of a shock. Ruben's earned it, and Adama's not really tore it up. I remember he got a debut on his debut, he got an assist after 10 minutes, and everyone was gassing him up, even though he can barely get in the 11 now. Adama Traore, I think we can all accept it now, Adama Traore is not actually that good. And him going to Barcelona would be an issue. And I think a lot of people are kind of coming around to the Trincao thing, but with Ruben Neves, I understand why a lot of people are sceptical about Wolves selling him, because there's a lot of kind of love for Ruben Neves, and he has been good this season. But the one thing I would say is Ruben Neves isn't irreplaceable. Wolves are a team that are the more than the sum of their parts, right? We don't have one star player who's carrying us like a lot of other clubs do. And as good as Ruben Neves is, his defensive output's always been pretty good. He's a decent forward passer. He always holds onto the ball pretty well. He takes a lot of shots. He's a threat from set pieces. Ruben Neves isn't world class. Wolves can replace Ruben Neves with good recruitment, especially if we get 50, 60 million pounds for him and do it kind of early. And even if you look at Ruben Neves' output this season compared to last season, it's not actually that different. Obviously last season he had more, defensive outputs. We were terrible, but he's on the ball numbers and his progressive carries and progressive pass numbers, they're basically the same, which I didn't actually expect. I thought it would actually be a bit higher, but he's kind of been the same this season as he was last season in terms of his underlying numbers. I think he's been better on the eye because Wolves are playing better, but I don't think Bruno Lage transformed him into this completely different player to what he was in the 3 years in the Premier League under Nuno. And to be honest, I think Joao Moutinho has probably been a more important player for us over the last 4 years. In our first Premier League season, I thought Joao Moutinho held Ruben Neves' hand for that season. I think the Europa League season Neves improved, but I still think Gianmartino was way better than him. Last season, I think they were both terrible. Well, not terrible. Sorry, I take that back. I think they were both. I think they both underperformed and were playing in a bad side. But I think Neves was better last season, and I think Neves has been better than Moutinho this season, but not by much. So I don't think this is like some big loss that some people are making out if Ruben Neves leaves. As good as he is, he's not irreplaceable. Wolves are the more than some of their parts. He's got 2 years left on his contract. This is the best time to get big money for him and get it early. Get it early in the transfer window and reinvest it properly. The only concern, I guess, is if Moutinho leaves as well, because then all of a sudden you've lost both your midfielders. And Wolves already probably needed 1 or 2 midfielders anyway. So that's a concern. But I suppose with the players that are linked, Matheus Nunes and Joao Palhinha, they've played together for 3 years at Sporting. If you get both those guys in, both speak the same language, both played together for a while, it's not that much of a concern. But I think people should probably just calm down about Ruben Neves. If we, as good as Ruben is, and as much as we love the guy, we all thought he'd leave like 2 years ago anyway. We've got good use out of him. We've got his kind of not prime years, but we've got some of his best years at the club. He's achieved a lot. But just let him move on. He's going abroad, going probably early in the transfer window for a big fee. I don't really think it's an issue. In terms of the guys that are linked with replacing him, Joao Palhinha's been linked with us for, 4 years? I think he was linked with us the first season we got promoted. I don't really have any data on him, bar his Champions League numbers, because Liga NOS numbers aren't really accessible, at least not to, the public. So, obviously all these on-the-ball numbers look terrible. So I can't, but it's hard to judge because these are just Champions League numbers. And obviously Sporting played Man City twice, and they got smashed in both those games. They had Dortmund twice, they had Ajax twice. I guess the only concern would be, as a defensive midfield, he's kind of the opposite to Ruben Neves, at least in the Champions League. High pressure and high tackle numbers, but really low interception numbers. And that's kind of the opposite of Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves has always had more interceptions and a bit lower pressures, which to me suggests that Joao Palhinha is more... you get 2 types of DMs. You get those ones that fly off their line and make the tackle early, or you get the ones that kind of wait and then kind of make the interception, if you know what I mean. To me, these numbers suggest Joao Palhinha is the opposite. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's a bit of a different profile. And then with Matheus Nunes, again, I guess the one good thing about him, 3 dribbles per 90 in a Champions League level for a guy that's 22, 23. That's rare. You very rarely see that. Midfielders are those sort of numbers like Pedri and Jude Bellingham and those sort of guys. And Wolves haven't had a midfielder that can dribble in God knows how long. So that would probably be a good thing for Wolves. But to conclude, I don't think this is a big deal. I think this is clearly Wolves putting a story out of there to kind of tamper Wolves fans' expectations. There's been a lot of stories recently from like the Express and Star and stuff that he might sign a new contract. To me, this is clearly the club putting it out there. Okay, he's probably going to leave. Barcelona for me is a good option for him, assuming he actually gets a starting role into Xavi. I don't think it would hurt Wolves fans. It's not like if you went to like Arsenal or something, or Tottenham, where it kind of just feels like a sidestep. If he goes to Barcelona, big club, good move for him. We'll probably get good money for him. I know Barcelona have debt, but they are a big club. They will be able to pay money. And if Wolves lose him and get 2 midfielders in, like Nunes and Palhinha, I don't actually think it will affect us. Wolves are more than some of our parts. As good as he is, Ruben Neves, I think he's not as good as some of our fans make out that he is, just because we love him so much. I think Adama Traore is a prime example of that. And I think Ruben's the same. Obviously, we'll see what happens. There's a long time left in this, when the transfer window opens, but I'd kind of like to get this done early. If the week after that Liverpool game on the final day, if Ruben's gone the next day, I think that's a good thing. Don't drag it out and make it like a little fiasco like the Adama Traore situation. That's my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and yeah, peace.